Cooking with food waste, zero waste kitchen hacks. Greetings. Welcome to today's episode of our podcast, where we turn kitchen scraps into culinary gold. Imagine this, you just made a delicious meal, and now you're left with veggie peels, stale bread, and some overripe bananas. Most people would toss them, right? But what if I told you these so-called waste items could be transformed into gourmet dishes? In the USA alone, an estimated 40% of food goes to waste, yet there are simple, smart ways to minimize waste while saving money and making tasty meals. Stick around as we share practical zero-waste kitchen hacks that will change the way you cook forever. The $1,500 soup. A friend of mine, Sarah, was shocked when she calculated how much money she was throwing away each year in wasted food. It added up to over $1,500. Determined to change her habits, she started saving vegetable scraps, onion peels, and herb stems in a freezer bag. Every week, she'd boil them into a rich homemade vegetable broth instead of buying store-bought stock. Not only did she cut down on waste, but she also saved money and realized her homemade broth tasted better than anything she had ever bought. Grandma's banana bread trick. Growing up, my grandmother never wasted food, and one of her best tricks involved overripe bananas. Instead of tossing them, she'd mash them up and freeze them in small bags. When guests dropped by unexpectedly, she'd whip out the bananas, mix them with simple pantry staples, and within 30 minutes, we had warm, fresh banana bread. To this day, I can't see a brown banana without thinking of how she turned waste into a delicious, comforting treat. The accidental crouton business. A bakery owner I met once had a daily problem. He always had leftover bread that went stale before he could sell it. One day, instead of throwing it away, he cut it into cubes, tossed them in olive oil and spices, and baked them into crunchy croutons. He packaged them up and sold them as artisanal salad toppers, and they became so popular that they now outsell his fresh bread. What started as a way to reduce waste became a whole new revenue stream. The Fridge Clean-Out Challenge. A friend of mine in college used to do something called the Friday Fridge Challenge. Every Friday, instead of ordering takeout, she'd take whatever leftovers, scraps, and odd ingredients were in her fridge and try to make a meal out of them. One time, she made a stir-fry using leftover rice, a few sad-looking veggies, some stale peanuts, and a splash of soy sauce. It turned out to be so good that she made it a weekly tradition and saved hundreds of dollars a year by not wasting food. The citrus peel cleaner surprise. A neighbor of mine had a habit of saving all her orange and lemon peels in a jar. At first, I thought it was a weird collection, but she later showed me her secret. She filled the jar with vinegar and let it sit for a couple of weeks. The result? A powerful, all-natural citrus cleaner that smelled amazing and worked just as well as store-bought ones without any chemicals or plastic waste. She even started gifting bottles to friends, and now we all do it. Each of these stories highlights how small, simple changes can lead to a big impact, whether it's saving money, finding creative new recipes, or even starting a business. Smart zero-waste cooking tips. The first step to a zero-waste kitchen is knowing how to use every part of your ingredients. Let's start with vegetable scraps. Instead of throwing away carrot tops, onion skins, or celery leaves, save them for homemade vegetable broth. Just toss them into a pot with water, add spices, simmer, strain, and you have a rich, flavorful base for soups and stews. Another underrated ingredient? Stale bread. Rather than discarding it, turn it into crunchy croutons, breadcrumbs for coating meats or veggies, or even a delicious bread pudding. And what about overripe fruits? Those mushy bananas make the perfect base for smoothies, pancakes, or homemade banana ice cream. Bruised apples. Cook them down into a homemade applesauce or bake them into a warm spiced dessert. Dairy products also get wasted too often. If you have leftover yogurt, use it as a marinade for meats or a creamy dressing for salads. Sour milk. Instead of dumping it, use it for baking. It works wonders in pancakes, muffins, and biscuits. Food sustainability experts emphasize that reducing food waste isn't just good for the environment, it's great for your wallet too. By repurposing leftovers and scraps, households in the USA can save hundreds of dollars annually on groceries. Studies show that simple habits like proper food storage, meal planning, and mindful consumption can cut down food waste by up to 50%. Case study: how Sarah reduced food waste by 80% using zero-waste kitchen hacks. Sarah, a working professional from New York, struggled with food waste and high grocery bills. After committing to a zero-waste kitchen lifestyle, she reduced her food waste by 80% in 6 months, saved $1,500 annually, and contributed to a more sustainable environment. Here's how she did it, step by step. Step 1. Identifying the problem. Sarah's challenge: she often bought groceries impulsively, leading to expired food and wasted leftovers. Food waste amount: she wasted approximately 10 pounds of food per week, mostly produce, dairy, and leftovers. Financial loss: Sarah estimated that she was throwing away $30 to $40 of food every week. Environmental impact: she realized that her food waste contributed to methane emissions and landfill overflow. Step 2. Creating a zero-waste meal plan. Assessing current food inventory, Sarah checked her fridge and pantry before making a grocery list. Smart meal planning: she planned meals around perishable items and repurposed leftovers creatively. Batch cooking and freezing: she prepped meals in advance and stored extra portions in the freezer. Versatile ingredients: she bought items that could be used across multiple meals, example chickpeas for salads, soups, and hummus. Results: reduced unnecessary grocery trips. Used up all ingredients before buying more. Cut grocery expenses by 25% in the first month. Step 3. Shopping smart to minimize waste. Buying in smaller quantities, Sarah stopped bulk buying perishable items she couldn't finish. Using a grocery list, she stuck to a structured shopping list based on her meal plan. Choosing fresh and local, she shopped at farmers markets, reducing reliance on packaged foods. Avoiding plastic and packaging, she used reusable produce bags and glass containers. Results: cut down on impulse purchases. Reduced packaging waste by 60%. Spent 15 minutes less per grocery trip, staying focused on essentials. Step 4. Storing food properly to maximize freshness. Using airtight containers, Sarah stored dry goods in glass jars to prevent spoilage. Refrigerating correctly, she learned to store fruits and vegetables properly to extend shelf life. Using labels and organization, she labeled leftovers with dates to ensure timely consumption. Freezing leftovers and excess produce, she froze bananas for smoothies and herbs in olive oil cubes. Results: increased food shelf life by 40%. Prevented vegetables from spoiling prematurely. Eliminated the need to throw away expired products. Step 5. Cooking with every part of ingredients. Making homemade broths, she saved veggie scraps to make broth instead of buying packaged stock. Repurposing stale bread, she made croutons, breadcrumbs, and French toast from old bread. Using whole vegetables, she used carrot tops for pesto, broccoli stems in stir-fries, and citrus peels for natural cleaning solutions. Reviving leftovers creatively, she transformed roasted vegetables into soups, rice bowls, and pasta sauces. Results: reduced food waste by 50% in the first 3 months. Discovered new recipes and cooking techniques. Never threw away edible food parts again. Step 6. Composting unavoidable waste. Setting up a small compost bin, Sarah started composting fruit peels, eggshells, coffee grounds, and other organic waste. Using compost for indoor plants, she used her composted waste as fertilizer for her home garden. Partnering with a local compost program, when she had extra compost, she donated it to a community garden. Results: diverted 80% of food waste from landfills. Helped grow fresh herbs and vegetables at home. Reduced her garbage output significantly. Step 7. Sharing and spreading awareness. Educating friends and family, she shared her journey on social media and inspired others. Hosting zero-waste dinners, she invited friends over for meals made entirely from leftovers. Joining a food rescue initiative, she participated in local programs that redistribute surplus food to those in need. Results: encouraged 5 friends to adopt zero-waste cooking. Contributed to her community's sustainability efforts. Became more mindful about food consumption habits. Final results: Sarah's zero-waste transformation. Reduced food waste by 80% in 6 months. Saved $1,500 per year on groceries. Lowered her carbon footprint and supported sustainability. Enjoyed healthier, home-cooked meals with minimal waste. By following these simple steps, Sarah transformed her kitchen into a zero-waste, cost-effective, and eco-friendly space. Her journey proves that small changes can lead to big financial savings and a positive environmental impact. Would you take on the zero-waste challenge? Common food waste questions. What is zero-waste cooking? Zero-waste cooking is a sustainable approach to food preparation that minimizes waste by using every part of an ingredient, repurposing scraps, and reducing reliance on packaged foods. How much food waste does the average American generate? The average American wastes about 220 pounds of food per year, which amounts to over $1,800 in lost groceries. What are the best ways to use vegetable scraps? Vegetable scraps like onion peels, carrot tops, and celery ends can be used to make homemade broth, stir-fries, or blended into sauces for extra nutrients. Can fruit peels be eaten or repurposed? Yes. Citrus peels can be zested for flavor, banana peels can be blended into smoothies, and apple peels can be baked into chips or added to tea for a natural sweetener. How do I keep herbs from going bad too quickly? Store herbs in a jar of water like fresh flowers or chop and freeze them in ice cube trays with olive oil for long-lasting flavor. What can I do with leftover coffee grounds? Used coffee grounds make an excellent natural fertilizer, odor neutralizer, or exfoliating scrub for the skin. How can I use stale bread instead of throwing it away? Stale bread can be turned into croutons, breadcrumbs, bread pudding, or French toast. What's the best way to store leftovers to reduce food waste? Use clear glass containers to keep food visible, label items with dates, and store leftovers at eye level in the fridge to encourage usage. How do I make the most of dairy products before they expire? Turn almost expired milk into homemade cheese, yogurt, or pancakes. Sour cream can be added to baking recipes for moisture. What's a good way to repurpose overripe bananas? Mash them into banana bread, blend into smoothies, freeze for ice cream, or mix into oatmeal. Can I eat vegetable stems and leaves? Yes. Broccoli stems, beet greens, and carrot tops are all edible and can be used in stir-fries, pesto, or salads. What can I do with eggshells? Crushed eggshells can be added to compost, used as a calcium supplement for plants, or even blended into smoothies for a natural calcium boost. How can I reduce meat waste? Save bones for homemade broth, use fat drippings for cooking, and repurpose leftovers into soups, tacos, or stir-fries. What are some zero-waste meal planning tips? Plan meals around ingredients you already have, cook in batches, and create a shopping list to avoid impulse purchases. How can I store produce to extend its shelf life? Keep potatoes and onions in a cool, dark place, store leafy greens in a breathable bag with a paper towel, and refrigerate berries in a dry container. Is composting necessary for zero-waste cooking? While not mandatory, composting is a great way to repurpose unavoidable food scraps and reduce landfill waste. What's the best way to use leftover rice? Turn it into fried rice, rice pudding, arancini, fried rice balls, or added to soups and casseroles. How do I store nuts and seeds to prevent spoilage? Keep them in an airtight container in the fridge or freezer to prevent them from going rancid. Can I regrow vegetables from scraps? Yes. Green onions, lettuce, celery, and even potatoes can regrow from kitchen scraps when placed in water or soil. How do I reduce packaging waste when shopping for groceries? Buy in bulk, bring reusable bags, and choose fresh produce over packaged options whenever possible. What can I do with excess citrus fruits? Make homemade lemonade, infuse water, zest the peel for seasoning, or create natural cleaning solutions. How can I use pasta water instead of discarding it? Save pasta water to thicken sauces, cook rice, or even water plants after it cools down. What are some zero-waste breakfast ideas? Make oatmeal using leftover fruit peels, use stale bread for French toast, or blend frozen fruit into smoothies. Can I freeze leftovers to prevent food waste? Absolutely. Freeze soups, sauces, and chopped vegetables to extend their shelf life and reduce spoilage. What's the biggest benefit of zero-waste cooking? It saves money, reduces environmental impact, and encourages creativity in the kitchen while making the most of every ingredient. How can I store food to make it last longer? Keep herbs fresh by storing them in water, refrigerate greens with a paper towel to absorb excess moisture, and freeze leftovers before they spoil. What's the best way to compost food scraps? If you can't use every scrap in cooking, composting is the next best thing. Even apartment dwellers can use small indoor composting bins. Can I eat vegetable peels and stems? Absolutely. Many peels, like those from carrots and potatoes, contain high fiber and nutrients. Just be sure to wash them well before cooking. How can I use coffee grounds and tea leaves? They make excellent natural fertilizers for plants or can be used in homemade skincare scrubs. What's the best way to use citrus peels? Zest them into recipes for extra flavor, infuse them into vinegar for a natural cleaner, or candy them for a sweet treat. Step-by-step process for zero-waste cooking. Zero-waste cooking is about maximizing ingredients, minimizing waste, and being mindful of sustainability. Here's a step-by-step guide to adopting a zero-waste kitchen approach. Step 1. Plan your meals strategically. Assess what you have, check your fridge, freezer, and pantry before planning meals. Create a meal plan, plan meals around ingredients that need to be used first. Use versatile ingredients, choose ingredients that can be used in multiple recipes. Portion control, plan portion sizes to avoid leftovers that may go to waste. Example, if you have leftover roasted vegetables, plan to use them in a salad, sandwich, or omelette the next day. Step 2. Shop smart and reduce packaging waste. Make a grocery list, stick to a list to avoid impulse buying and excess food waste. Buy in bulk, purchase pantry staples in bulk using reusable containers. Choose fresh and local, opt for fresh, unpackaged produce and avoid plastic-wrapped items. Support sustainable brands. Look for organic, fair trade, and sustainable food sources. Example, instead of buying pre-packaged salad greens, buy a whole lettuce head and store it properly to keep it fresh. Step 3. Store food properly to maximize freshness. Use glass jars and airtight containers, keep dry goods fresh and prevent spoilage. Wrap herbs in damp towels, extend the life of fresh herbs like cilantro and parsley. Separate ethylene-producing fruits, keep bananas, apples, and tomatoes away from other produce to prevent premature ripening. Freeze leftovers, store extra food in freezer-friendly containers to use later. Example, freeze overripe bananas for smoothies or baking instead of throwing them away. Step 4. Use every part of the ingredient. Save vegetable scraps, use peels, stems, and tops to make homemade broth. Repurpose citrus peels, use zest for flavoring or dry the peels for homemade cleaning solutions. Eat the whole vegetable, Carrot tops can be made into pesto, and broccoli stems can be stir-fried. Example, instead of tossing potato peels, bake them into crispy chips. Step 5, get creative with leftovers. Reinvent meals, turn last night's dinner into something new, example roast chicken rightward arrow chicken soup. Use stale bread, make bread crumbs, croutons, or bread pudding instead of discarding it. Blend and repurpose, leftover veggies can be blended into sauces, soups, or dips. Example, leftover rice can be transformed into fried rice, rice pudding, or stuffed peppers. Step 6, compost what you can't use. Set up a compost bin, use a small compost bin in your kitchen or garden. Know what's compostable: fruit peels, coffee grounds, eggshells, and vegetable scraps are great for composting. Use compost for gardening, enrich soil with compost for homegrown herbs and veggies. Example, instead of discarding coffee grounds, add them to compost or use them as a natural fertilizer for plants. Step 7, adopt a sustainable cooking mindset. Use energy-efficient cooking methods. Pressure cookers and slow cookers reduce energy usage. Reduce water waste, wash vegetables in a bowl instead of running water continuously. Avoid single-use plastics, use reusable wraps, silicone bags, and cloth napkins. Encourage family participation, teach kids and family members about reducing food waste. Example, instead of buying disposable plastic wraps, store leftovers in beeswax wraps or glass containers. Step 8, share and inspire others. Educate through social media, share your zero-waste journey and tips online. Join community groups, support local food sharing programs and food rescue initiatives. Host zero-waste cooking challenges, encourage friends and family to adopt sustainable habits. By following these steps, you'll save money, help the environment, and make the most out of every ingredient in your kitchen. Zero-waste cooking isn't just about reducing waste, it's about creating a sustainable and mindful way of living. If you enjoyed these tips and want more sustainable living hacks, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Share this podcast with friends and family who want to reduce food waste and cook smarter. Let's build a community of food rescuing, waste-reducing kitchen pros. By adopting these zero-waste kitchen habits, not only will you save money, but you'll also help combat food waste on a global scale. Small changes lead to big impacts, so start today. Disclaimer: the information provided in this case study is for educational and informational purposes only. The strategies, tips, and results shared are based on individual experiences and may not guarantee similar outcomes for everyone. Actual savings, waste reduction, and benefits may vary depending on personal habits, location, and lifestyle choices. This content does not constitute financial, environmental, or professional advice. Readers are encouraged to conduct their own research, consult experts if needed, and tailor these practices to their specific circumstances. The author and publisher disclaim any liability for any loss, damage, or inconvenience caused as a result of the use or application of the information provided in this case study. Thank you.